Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Money Lane, the PITT Ohio Transportation Group's financial wellness podcast. My name is Chad Warmbine. With me in studio today is my dad, Keith Warmbine. And as always, the PITT Ohio Money Lane, the Money Lane podcast is the goal is always to deliver timely guidance on financial planning and the employee benefits that are available to you here at PITT Ohio, and help you make confident financial decisions. And today's theme is timely information on what's available to you within the 401k plan, profit sharing plan at PITT Ohio. And we're going to continue to do these episodes. We've already had some that are now available on the YouTube page for PITT Ohio. We've talked about the rainy day fund. We've talked about beneficiaries, how to update those, a couple market update ones, a new one that's coming out hopefully in the next week, the roadmap to retirement, and one, our most viewed podcast so far is on the voluntary benefits that are available to everybody at PITT Ohio. So we do have a special guest with us today that we're excited to talk to and to get you some timely information from Fisher Investments, and he is Loukas Stephens. Welcome, Luke. How are you today?
Here. Thanks for having me, Chad and Keith.
Absolutely. And Luke is coming live from San Francisco, the power of technology. So we're excited to have you here, Luke. Luke is the vice president of Fisher Investments Institutional Group's defined contribution team. That is a fancy word for 401k plans. I'd say he's one of the experts on how the investments within plans are developed, constructed, managed for actually retirement accounts at PITT Ohio. So timely updates from you. We've been wanting to do this for a little while. Is get Luke and the team in front of everybody at PITT Ohio because of what has happened. And I'll turn it over to you.
Right. So what has happened is since July of last year, Fisher Investments became the 19th investment option, if you will, inside the 401k. And the employee that's watching this might ask, how did that come about? Luke, when I give you the microphone, you can correct me, but the target date funds came out 20 plus years ago. And we had a decision to make at that time. We felt that we were either going to add a target date fund to the menu of investment options here at PITT Ohio. And when I say we, I mean myself and Jamie Lankowski and the entire investment committee, because we don't do things willy-nilly. Any recommendations that we have for investments inside the 401k or the profit sharing have to pass not only the administrative committee, but the investment committee here at PITT Ohio. So back to the decision we had to make. It was either we put in a target date fund, who I will refer to as the new kid on the block, or we do the old time-tested risk-based models and have Ibbotson and Morningstar put together 5 model portfolios for us, which is what we decided to do. And we ran with the risk-based models for a number of years up until July of last year. We curbed them and we brought in Fisher Investments to do some actively managed account work, and their product is called the Pro Series. So that's kind of the background on how we got here. Those risk-based models served us well for many years, but I go back in my mind to doing a terminal visit last year, and one of the drivers said to me, "Hey, are you watching my money on a daily basis?" And I said, quite honestly, no. We can't watch thousands of people's money on a daily basis. Those portfolios are managed and rebalanced on a quarterly basis by your record keeper. And at that time, it was Empower. As everyone knows, we moved from Empower over to T. Rowe Price and brought Fisher into T. Rowe Price. So I hope that's a pretty good background of how we got here. And
I would say too, we announced it right last year. We did the terminal tour, we did visits pretty much everywhere, but hopefully this is a surprise to everybody. And quite frankly, they've done terrifically well, which hopefully we'll get into in a couple minutes. But Luke, we'll bring you on, but tell us about yourself, maybe a little bit of your background. Tell us about Fisher Investments. I know a number of us have heard and seen you guys on TV, but give us a quick intro on you and the firm.
Great. Thank you so much. Loukas Stephens. I've been at Fisher Investments for over 26 years now. So the vast majority of my professional career in investment management. As of the most recent quarter end, March 31st, Fisher Investments managed about 386 billion in assets across our business. That includes over 200,000 families and retirees for whom we serve as fiduciary discretionary manager to help them reach their unique investment goals. And then within the institutional group that our 401k investment business resides, we have about 260 clients globally across 42 countries. So very much a global business. We are thrilled to count PITT Ohio and the employees of PITT Ohio as valued clients and to be able to serve you. I'm really excited to be here to talk today about how you can get the most out of this service that Keith referenced called Fisher Pro, and that's short for personalized retirement outcomes. And Fisher Pro was something that we conceived many years ago now, but it took a long time to bring to market because we rely on technology and integration and the ability to be able to bring it to retirement plans like PITT Ohio through your record keeper, as mentioned, which is currently T. Rowe Price. So Fisher Pro, really began as a journey that started with consumer learning. My background at Fisher was in mostly just general institutional investments. And I started to dig into the 401k space, specifically the United States defined contribution and 401k space. And we learned quickly that the most popular investments, Keith touched on it at the onset, are target date funds, and they still dominate today. But we also, as we looked under the hood of target dates and we looked under the hood of really popularized default investments, we came to the conclusion that employees of these types of workplace retirement plans are underserved and that we could improve upon the investment experience. And we do that in a couple of ways, and I know we're going to get into this more. So, at a high level, we are seeking to deliver to your employees, to you dialed into this call, personalized portfolios that are actively managed by Fisher Investments and give you the ability through a user interface to receive advice on how to even get more out of your plan, which we'll get into in a moment. But the idea is to do everything we can to maximize the likelihood that the employees of PITT Ohio are going to have a successful retirement outcome. And what's a successful outcome? It means when you are done working, that your paycheck continues in the form of retirement income. And for most folks, not all, but for most, the majority of your retirement income is going to come from your workplace retirement plans, your 401k and profit sharing plan, and Social Security. And so we want to do our part with the support of your advisor team here, Keith and Chad and Jamie, to help you really have the confidence that you're going to get there and not be invested and just hope that at some point when I start paying attention and get closer to retirement that things are going to be okay. We want you to have available to you along the way the resources to feel really confident that you're going to get there.
That's awesome.
Let me get back to that truck driver that asked me in the meeting, are you watching my money every day? How would you address that now?
Yes. The simple answer is yes.
Right.
For many investors that are self-directing investments in the 401k, they have a menu of investments that have been reviewed and vetted by their advisor team, you all, Keith and Chad and Jamie, brought to the committee for their support for putting them in the plan. But if you're self-directing investments and you are a rank and file employee, you generally don't have the time and resources to think and worry about the daily movements of the market, right? Well, that is our business. That's what we do at Fisher on behalf of our clients. And with the Fisher Pro solution, the default and for over 40-year-old employees in the PITT Ohio plan, being enrolled in the plan means that you can rest assured that if you don't take action, we're still able to source information about you that's maintained on your record keeping system that comes from payroll data that PITT Ohio provides to your record keeper. So we know things about you, age, salary, how much you're saving, how much you've accumulated, and more. But those are some of the basic things that we know through this technology to be able to model what should your allocation be between stocks and bonds that's going to maximize the likelihood of you reaching your retirement income goal. But on the way, in real time, our investment team at Fisher Investments, and we have a 5-member investment policy committee supported by over 80 analysts organized on a global research platform. They are monitoring the markets and making active investment decisions inside of the funds that you own through the Fisher Pro solution, so that you don't have to worry about the impact of any number of things that you might see and hear about that could impact the markets. And when we engage with employees, and when we talk to consultants like Keith and Chad and other advisors that we work with, we hear the same story that you just mentioned, Keith. You sit down with an employee, and typically they look at you, the expert, and say, "What should I do?" And do it for me. And of course, in a traditional relationship where you have hundreds, if not thousands of employees that you serve through a retirement plan, you can't sit down and have that discretionary day-to-day relationship with those employees. The beauty of Fisher Pro is through technology, powered in part by our partner Morningstar behind the scenes at T Rowe, that is delivering the specificity to get everybody into these goal-based allocations. We're able to deliver that advice, a discretionary advice in scale to everyone.
So to sum all that up, if Chad and I are both in the Fisher Pro series, a guy at 63 years old isn't going to have the same allocation as a guy at 37 years old, right?
I can't believe you're 63, Keith, but yes,
It's true.
That's
He can.
true. Based on your different ages, and if we were to look under the hood at your other circumstances, right? How much you're earning. So what is your income replacement goal in retirement? And that's a moving target over time. How much you've saved. Those factors, among others, are going to determine your asset allocation. And almost certainly you're going to have a different allocation to stocks and bonds.
Right.
We could spend forever on this subject, but talk about really, I'm gonna, if we're allowed to, compare yourselves against the target date series, right? Because he was talking about target date funds are age based, right? I'm 37 years old. I'm supposed to retire in 30-ish years. That's my full Social Security. That's my full Medicare age-ish. So I would fit right into the 2055, 2060 target date fund. And that's how they work, right? And that's other retirement plans. We have a lot of clients that those are good for, but being that we have this many employees here at PITT Ohio, we're able to access something as unique as the Fisher Pro series. Talk about how you differentiate yourselves and compare to the target date, mega funds.
Yeah, I just want to add to that because there's only two types of investors in my eyes. There's the do it for me and there's the do it yourselfers. And in my experience over 40 years, it's probably 90% of the 401k participants across the country are folks that say, do it for me, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's consistent with our experience as well.
Yeah. Are you able to talk about the target date a little bit? Target date complex, but how you're different and how you guys do it?
Industrial complex.
I can talk till I'm blue in the face about what we
Yes.
affectionately refer to as the target date funding industrial complex. Target date funds have been around a long time, but they were really popularized coming out of the 2006 Pension Protection Act, which was, the first major reform in the 401k industry in decades. And out of that came what is called fiduciary safe harbor, where plan sponsors, business owners who are responsible as fiduciaries, just as the committee at PITT Ohio is for selecting investments and setting up retirement plans, could get some degree of protection from law if they use different investments. Target dates were blessed as one such investment. Managed accounts were also blessed as one such default approved investment under that safe harbor, as were balanced funds and risk-based funds that previously were used in your plan. So with target date funds, it really became an industry easy button. And a lot of the major record keepers like Fidelity and Vanguard are also investment managers, and they run target dates. And the way that target dates work, as you pointed out, Chad, is they take into consideration one and only one data point about an employee, their age, their birth, and they presume that if an employee is 50 years of age today, that they're going to retire in 15 years at the quote unquote normal retirement age of 65. So if you are about 50 retiring at 65, you would go into most likely a 2040 target date fund. That is the target date that corresponds most closely with your retirement age. And the way that the target date would work is it's one fund and it's got one asset allocation that changes over time, from when you're younger being more invested in stocks and taking more risk to grow assets, to as you get older, converting to a higher level of bonds, more less risky, less volatile investments that produce income. Now, target dates are not a bad thing. They provide diversification, an appropriate age asset allocation, and they're professionally managed. But beyond that, there is a lot to be desired, in our opinion. And that is because, number one, we know that not all 50-year-olds are the same. Not everybody has the same salary or income replacement goal. Not everybody has saved the same amount. Not everybody is contributing and saving the same amount along the way. And so once you get beyond age, you see across all different employees just disparate financial circumstances. We're all different. We're similar, but we're different. We all have the same end game goal in mind, that is, create income so that I can live comfortably in retirement. But where we are on the journey is different. And so target dates, for example, don't care if you had to take, God forbid, a hardship loan along the way and take money out of your 401k to pay for that unexpected expense. And hopefully you're able to pay that back to your retirement account. But a target date fund doesn't see that. It doesn't adjust. A managed account like Pro would see that and would take it into consideration and appropriately adjust your asset allocation. If you're an employee and as you're growing your career, you're earning more, well, your income replacement goal is going up. You get accustomed to earning more, and in retirement, you're going to want more income in retirement. Target date fund doesn't care. A managed account is going to adjust for that. The other important thing is a target date fund is not giving you feedback, retirement readiness feedback, or advice. Now, all of you have access, and I'll share some screens a moment later in today's podcast about how to engage further with Fisher Pro. But a target date fund won't tell you things like, Chad, if you increase your savings rate by a couple of percent, this is what the impact is going to be on your retirement when you project out 25, 30 years, so that you can model and see that. Or, hey, I may not want to work, or I may have health issues that prevent me from working to that quote unquote normal 65-year-old retirement date a target date uses. A managed account, you can model that. You can see that if I want to retire sooner or later, Some people want to work beyond 65. Many Americans do today. This is the impact. And as well, when can I optimize my social security benefit, right? That's all part of the managed account Fisher Pro user interface.
Right.
Now, the thing that I didn't get to is
Go ahead.
investments. I can riff on that too.
Go ahead. No, I'll get to that in a minute. So I'm gonna give you an example. And I know I didn't get this on the sheet. We did a little pre-work for this meeting, but say I'm 63 years old or 64 or 65. I'm 2 years away from retirement. One of our previous podcasts is on the retirement roadmap here for PITT Ohio employees. But talk about what you guys do when you see Keith Hornbein, 63 years old. He's really close to retirement. How do the investments work then?
Well, the reality is people think of the retirement age, let's say it's 65 for argument's sake, as this sort of magic milestone where things suddenly change in terms of your investment picture and what you should be doing. The reality is Keith at 63 is really not that much different from an investment time horizon and income needs standpoint than he is at 65. Let's say that he decides that I'm going to draw that line in the sand at 65. I'm going to retire, separate from service, turn on my investments and create an income stream to supplement my living expenses, keep that paycheck going, so to speak. Um, because his time horizon is still a long time. At 63, most people still have 30 plus years that they can think that they will need their investments to continue to grow and deliver income. And perhaps if you have a spouse that's similar or younger age, your time horizon might even be longer. So within a managed account like Fisher Pro, you will be able to model, hey, at 65, I need to turn on an income stream and I need to start drawing investments from retirement. You have other options and flexibility available to you. It is your money in the 401k side that you could work with Keith and Chad and set up a separate financial plan outside of your retirement plan, or you could start to take periodic income outside of the plan to meet those living expenses. We can serve both, and you can do that right through the user interface.
That's awesome.
So I don't want to get ahead, but I know you have some screens to share with us today. I think that our numbers in looking, we had our investment committee meeting last week. I know that we have over $130 million at Fisher. And I was explaining to the ladies before this podcast started that we took everyone over the age of 40 and opted them into the Fisher Pro Series. We felt for anyone in a risk-based model, which by the way was the great majority of the participants in this plan, that Fisher was the right place for you. So I'm going to take a shot, 1,500 employees and over $130 million in the Fisher program. Interestingly, what do we tell the folks under 40? I know you're going to the T Row website and you're going to help illustrate that. I really want to talk to the folks that are under 40 in case they'd like to get involved in the Fisher Pro Series. So
that's what I was going to ask. How about that?
Perfect. So just to be very clear and specific, when Keith and Chad and Jamie proposed to the committee and they decided to move forward and implement the Fisher Pro solution, what happened was all employees, I guess this was around July of last year, aged 40 or above, were re-enrolled into Fisher Pro from either the risk-based models or whatever else you might have been doing if you were self-directed. Everybody under 40, correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, but went into a balanced investment if they didn't opt out. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So if you did nothing and you were 40 or over last year, you're enrolled in Fisher Pro. If you decided Fisher Pro is not for me, I want to opt out, which you can do at any time, by the way, You can choose to self-direct your investments from the standalone funds that are available on your 401k menu, and some people do that. For the people, getting to your question, Keith, that are under 40, or maybe you unenrolled from Pro, but you might be interested in re-enrolling, you can do that anytime. And so what I'm going to do here is attempt to share my screen, and I hope this comes through okay.
My dad would never be able to do this, by the way, Luke.
Ignore the man to my
Um,
right.
I'm just saying, I'm glad you're sharing your screen and he's not trying to share ours.
Hey, when it comes to technology, you always consult the younger generation, right?
Tough
We
audience.
we can
Keith,
see your
sorry.
screen. Yep.
Okay, Luke,
Okay.
take it away. Enough of Chad.
So in preparation for this, we just put together a few simple screenshots to show you what it looks like when you go into your 401k that's at the record keeper T Rowe price. So this is the landing page. And if you scroll across the top from left to right, you'll see some headers: home, view account details, take action, research investments. And this is just a mopped up example of what we're looking at. This is not an actual employee in the PITT Ohio plan. But there's this column that says plan and learn, under which you have a series of drop down menus starting with Planning Center. And then highlighted here, 6 rows down in this plan and learn drop down, is personalized retirement outcomes managed account. That is the Fisher Pro series, as we call it, the acronym, personalized retirement outcomes. So if you haven't logged in or you haven't done it in a while, I encourage everyone to take a moment on your own time, on the weekend, in the evening, whenever you have downtime, perhaps with your spouse, and open up this user interface. And I'm going to scroll forward. Can you see the screen as well?
This is
Okay,
awesome. Yeah, we can
perfect.
see your screen, and I'm hoping that everybody has seen this
Step by step.
that first screen before.
Right.
But presumably some people have.
I know. I'm
Just haven't. We have busy lives. I mean, this is why, I believe Keith and Chad and Jamie supported this type of solution, because you all have lives. Our livelihood is running investment and servicing employees of retirement plans. And many of you are on long hauls and doing different stuff in the support of the logistics that your company carries out. So this stuff can be intimidating, but hopefully the idea is here that it's going to be made a little bit simpler and intuitive. You don't need to be intimidated. You don't need to be an expert. This second screen that you'll see when you log in to your plan, to your 401k, asks you some basic questions. You'd like your retirement to be, and then you choose thrifty. I want to live off 20% less than my take home pay at retirement. I don't know if that's many people on the call. I think most people want the same, or perhaps a even improved prospect of income in retirement. But you can choose, I want a comfortable retirement, right? Which is living off the same amount of money as your take home pay when you retire. And of course, remember, that's going to be supplemented by Social Security. Some people might want to be jet setters. They want to have a more lavish retirement. They want, for example, 20% more than your current take home pay at retirement. Or you might have a custom idea about your retirement. This is the screen where you can choose that. And then, like I said, intuitive, you're going to see these click throughs where you continue on this series of slides. You're going to be able to review your information here. And this is going to be pre-populated with information about you: your name, your date of birth, your gender. Gender actually impacts your investments, because according to our tables, actuarial tables, females, all else equal, tend to live a bit longer. So that's going to impact investment allocations. Your salary, your retirement age, it's going to implement life expectancy. And so I encourage you all to go in, go through this. You can add more information. And this is an important thing to think about, right? If you were to walk into a meeting with Keith and Chad to talk about your financial picture outside of the workplace, your broad picture, they're going to want to learn a lot about you beyond the 401k plan so that they can give you the best advice. They're going to want to know, what are your aspirations for your money? What are your income goals? What's your time horizon? And sometimes that time horizon is beyond your lifetime, because you want to leave something to your children or a charitable legacy, any number of different goals. Within the 401k user interface that supports Pro at T Rowe, you're going to have ability to add more information beyond what is contained in the retirement plan at PITT Ohio. So you might have outside sources of income beyond Social Security in your 401k. Your spouse might be working and have outside sources of income and accumulated retirement assets. This is a page where through T Rowe, you can, in a safe environment. By the way, your employer doesn't see any of these details. This is all private to your account. Add information, and that'll be incorporated into what the advice puts out, how your investments are allocated between the pro funds, and that you're going to be given through this user interface. And this is a fun, important part of the process too. On the user interface, you're going to get specific advice about where you are today on your journey and how to change or improve upon it. So, for example, you can see currently in this mocked up slide, if you increase your saving rate from 7% to 9%, you're going to see the impact, and you're going to see sliding scales. This will, be an interactive slide. These are just screen prints for illustrative purposes, but you'll see the impact of increasing your saving rate, perhaps modestly today, what that'll be, years ahead, depending on where you are age-wise relative to retirement. You can see what the impact is of changing your retirement age. Like I mentioned, you might want to retire earlier, you might want to retire longer. And then you're also going to see advice on, based on your current financial picture, how and when to draw your Social Security benefit. You might be eligible at age 62, but the recommended advice is hold off until 67 to optimize how that fits into delivering retirement outcomes for you. And then finally, you're going to have the ability, and this is relevant, Keith, to your question about the under 40-year-olds that aren't currently enrolled automatically in the Pro solution. After you go through that modeling, those series of slides, you'll have the ability then to simply click a box, have professionals manage my plan. That would be, Fisher Pro serving as the fiduciary, providing active management and advice to you through the Pro service. Whether you're currently enrolled or not, you can enroll, and you can elect to do it on your own anytime by going into this user interface. If you opted out at some point, whether deliberately or unwittingly, you can go back into the user interface at any time and re-enroll, get that advice, benefit from the active investment management that we deliver for you at Fisher Investments.
That's awesome. That's really good. So, I was gonna say, not every 50-year-old is the same. When you are on the screen, that shows, right, the recommendations to make, right? I think that's important. Back to the retirement roadmap. Those are some of the things that you should really be taking, even if you're a 22-year-old brand new employee straight out of college here at headquarters or at one of the terminals, right? Go in and do that. And it's kind of a set it, not really a set it and forget it. I say that all the time to people. I'm like, don't forget it. It's your money and it's your retirement, but you can literally set it and forget it and let Fisher do it. So that's awesome. Any final thoughts?
One more
Luke?
plug.
Sorry. Go ahead.
One more plug, Chad.
Yep.
You have Keith and Chad, obviously, that you've gotten to know and that you have access to anytime. Through Fisher Pro, you also have a customer service person, a service line to call, a dedicated person. Ryan Nixon is my colleague who leads the employee engagement and service program for PITT Ohio. And, in talking to him in preparation for this, he mentioned that he's already gotten some calls and had some nice conversations with drivers and other employees who had questions. We're available anytime to answer questions for you. T. Rowe Price, the record keeper, has a customer service line as well. If you're having problems with technology or you forget a login, which is a common question, they can help you get back in. But Ryan is also a resource who can help you if you have questions about, hey, how do I use this? How do the investments work? Anything like that. We're delighted to engage one-on-one with you anytime. And I hope we do more of this too.
I do
Yes.
too.
It's
I just want
Go
to.
ahead.
I have two final thoughts, and it gets to performance because, as I mentioned earlier, we just had our investment committee meeting last week. As advisors, when we go out to select a fund for a menu at a particular, well, PITT Ohio, if we're looking for a large cap growth fund, we're looking for peer group performance and we're looking for benchmark performance. What we like to see is a fund that's performing in its top quartile in both its peer group and against its benchmark. And one thing that caught our attention when we were out scouring the marketplace for Fisher investments was the performance. And as I looked through your numbers in the investment committee last week, I had to bring it up for everyone. It will be in the minutes. But do you want to speak a little bit to your performance? Because I'll tell you what, your performance against the benchmark is just remarkable. So
If compliance allows it, right?
yeah, I don't know where you want to go with that, but
Well, first, thank you. We're really proud of the performance history that we've been able to deliver for our clients. I'll say, like all of us in the investment business should be saying, past performance is no guarantee of future results.
right.
But I will say this. When we look at the industry and how investments are commonly deployed in workplace retirement plans like 401ks, we often see over diversification. And that goes on under the hood of target date funds, where if an employee that was invested in a target date fund, I'm 52, so let's say I'm in a 2040 target date fund, I see one fund, right, on my state, and I see that I own the 2040 target date. I'm not going to pick on any individual target date managers. There are many big reputable ones out there.
And many to
But
pick
when
on.
you look under the hood at how they, well, I'm not shy, and some body
Not today.
I will speak more freely.
Yeah.
But if you look under the hood of your average active target date fund, there's over 20 sub funds, and if you take in aggregate the number of holdings in those sub funds, there's we looked based on our studies with which are not too stale within the last year, so almost 5,000 individual stocks, and then about 6,000 individual bonds. So you're talking almost 11,000 individual securities in 20 funds under the hood of a single target date. Peter Lynch at Fidelity coined the phrase diversification. You can't beat the market if you own the market. At Fisher, we do not take that fund to fund approach. We have our investment team that has taken a global orientation, which we do for many of our clients at Fisher Investments, unless there's something very unusual about you. We recommend a globally diversified portfolio that's appropriate to your age and circumstances, and that's what's deployed through Fisher Pro. But you have two simple buckets. When you're in Fisher Pro, you will see that you own an allocation to global equity and to U.S. fixed income. And under the hood of the equity, focusing on that rather than owning 20 funds, we have a portfolio that is almost exclusively individual securities. And that gives our investment team the ability to maximize the likelihood of success, the likelihood of being able to do well in different environments and manage risk as well by making decisions about the style of securities we own. Do we want to be overweight larger versus smaller stocks? Do we want to be overweight US versus non-US stocks? Value versus growth. There's a cyclical nature to the markets. And if you can get the big, durable trends right more consistently than not, we don't have to be perfect. We don't expect to be perfect. Nobody is. But if we can, through our consistent approach that comes with a lot of experience and a very well-resourced platform, get the big decisions right, and then select individual securities that are levered to our higher level decisions around country, sector, industry, we're gonna have the ability to continue in the future to do so well what we've done in the past. And so we have every reason to believe, with the stability of our team and the process we have in place, that we're well suited to continue to do that. And when we look at alternatives, we see structures that I think really make it challenging to be able to generate excess return and manage risk. When you own all that, you end up with almost a messy index-like portfolio, and you'd probably be better off investing passively. For your own comfort, know that you have a seasoned, well-resourced team that's been doing this for a very long time, doing it on your behalf. And we're happy to keep you apprised, by the way, of what we're doing. Anytime you have questions about how we're invested and how our portfolios are positioned, we will be able to share with you our high conviction views on what we're doing.
Well, in that little chat, you mentioned twice doing well. Why don't you give us the old Fisher slogan?
I'm presuming we do better when you do better.
Bingo. Right.
That's
And-
on the commercial.
Yep. And we tell people the same thing and have been for years. We do better when you do better. So we sit at the same side of the table as fiduciaries with you to help you meet your goals. And I think that's the most important thing. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. And if you want to look at performance numbers, I would say log in to T. Rowe Price, number one.
Yeah.
Maybe go to the Fisher website, which we can point you to, or I'm sure you know it by heart. You can look at performance numbers there, I'm sure. But I mean, overall, let us know if you have questions on the performance. Any closing thoughts?
Luke, we're going to do this again. It was great. It was really good. And I hope that we get a lot of viewership out of this, because it's a great message. It really is. And a great company and a great product. So
yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, Luke.
Gentlemen, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I want to thank all of the employees of PITT Ohio for the confidence and letting us be a part of your financial journey. We're working very hard for you. We're excited to help you. Any questions, we look forward to engaging directly as well. So
We'll have you back.
Take care, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
And
God.
just a quick wrap up. This was the episode with Fisher Pro Series, right? This is our longest episode yet. As I look at the time clock, it won't quite take you from the Columbus to Cincinnati terminal, I don't think. But maybe you can listen to another podcast episode in that time too. So thanks everybody for joining us. Hope you found this helpful, and we will talk to everybody soon. Have a good day.
Thank you.